I know I'm a bit echoey before we go any further. I do apologise for that. That's not something I can really help right now because of my situation, but please do bear with me and I hope you enjoy the video nonetheless. Hello, Jimmy here. Today we're going to talk about, honestly, one of the least accurate representations that we have of the Viking Age on film, and that is, of course, the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. So the How to Train Your Dragon films are, frankly, appallingly inauthentic in the costuming. If we take a look at some of the characters, here we have, let's just focus for now on Hiccup and Astrid. Hiccup, as a younger man, as a boy, appears to be wearing what looks like a green woolen tunic with, a furry vest over the top of it. Very, very stereotypically 1980s bad reenactment, old days clothing. Astrid wearing these strange pauldrons that seem to be either strapped to her shoulders or broached on using miniature skulls. We have her terugaze over her skirt, much more reminiscent of a Roman or Greek set of armour than anything early medieval. Snotlout with his furry vest then becomes classic black leather biker Viking. It's all very disappointing. Hiccup's armour as he gets older just becomes less and less accurate to the period, and it's all... I can't even keep a straight face. I bloody love How to Train Your Dragon, and I love the books and the films. So let's just take a quick look at some of the things in both. All of the costuming in the films of How to Train Your Dragon are completely fantastical. We've got horny helmets, we've got furry things around ankles and wrists, we've got skins, we've got all of the classic nonsense Viking tropes. And this is one of those times where I don't mind any of it, because the films aren't about authentic Viking Age clothing. The films are about environmentalism, they're about being true to yourself, and they're about appreciating the people that you have in your life. And that's what the books, which were written by Cressida Cowell, are about as well. Having said all of that, there are a couple of things that some of the films do really well. And we have things like Throck's ship. Throck's longship in the film franchise is actually not a bad, slightly cartoonified version of a Viking longboat. Like, we have pretty good rigging and sail setup. We've got a dragon on the figurehead. We've got the shields all attached to the gunwale, as is classic. And even the way that they've lapped the boards to make it look a little bit like a clinker-built ship is like kind of cool and impressive. So there are bits of these films that try to make the Viking bits look Viking-y. Like, there are aspects that make you say, yep, these are Vikings. And even the horny hats are things that people will look at and go, ah yes, these are silly fantasy Vikings. Because that is exactly what they are. They're Vikings, but they're silly fantasy Vikings. I mean, they have dragons. And the whole of the Hairy Hooligan clan are silly fantasy Vikings, and the majority of them are silly people who don't appreciate what they've got in Hiccup. One of the things that we also have is we have Norse-style patronymic names. So we have people who are something son or something daughter, and it's not applied everywhere in the films, and in the books people tend to go with nicknames much more. So we have people like Hiccup, and if we look at some of his other relatives, we have people like Alvin the Treacherous, Fishlegs No Name, his third cousin. I love him. We have Baggy Bum the Beerbelly, who is his uncle, and in the film he's replaced by Snotlout Jorgensen. Following on from that, you'd expect his dad to be called Jorgen, but his dad is actually called Spitelaut Jorgensen. So they've kind of gone a bit reversey-poo on how the names work, where he has relatives called Griplout and Hedgelout. So we're using lout as the ending, like as a suffix for the first name, to tell you that these people are basically the male line of this Jorgensen family, and then we just have Jorgensen as a surname, whereas you'd kind of expect him to be Snotlout Spitelautson. So they've kind of taken the way that the names work in the books, and they've changed those. But Cressida Cowell was really, really closely involved with the way that the films were made. She was given scripts, she was given loads of material, she was given lots of time in terms of the character design, so she was really highly involved in the way that these films were made. In terms of things like the architecture, the island of Berk, which is based off some of the islands of the Inner Hebrides off the west coast of Scotland, has some really cool bits and bobs to it. We have things like the towers with the flames in the Vikings' mouths. Some of the houses are pretty good cartoonified Viking long halls, so we have... In terms of the architecture in the movies, I think it's done really, really well. All of the houses are fairly identifiably Viking-age buildings if you kind of look at them for a few minutes and inspect them. We have things like the decorated barge boards that are painted on all of the houses. Love that all of the houses have these dragons facing each other, two snakes facing each other. Tiled roofs with wooden tiles. We know that was how houses were roofed in the period. We have very brightly painted buildings, and we know that the Old Norse, were very keen on painting things. If they could decorate a structure, then they would decorate a structure either with carving or with painting. So I think overall it's cartoonified, but it looks awesome. Like, it's a beautifully designed environment. It really is. And you get that both in the films and in the various ways that it's been represented in gaming as well. What I think of How to Train Your Dragon, obviously the Hairy Hooligan tribe very much look like stereotypical Vikings. If you look really closely, you do, in certain points in the franchise, see people wearing what looks like a very cartoonified apron dress with oval brooches, which is a nice thing to see. Overall, obviously, it's a fantasy world. They're not Old Norse Vikings of Scandinavia. They are the Hairy Hooligan tribe of Berk. So, yes. But people are wearing colourful clothing and living in colourful, well-maintained houses, which is genuinely more than you can say for a lot of movies and TV shows, like in The Last Kingdom and in Vikings, where everybody's just wearing blacks and greys and living in muddy, terrible, horrible places that you'd never want to live. I mean, I would live in Berk. It looks like a nice place to live. Like, it looks like a beautiful island with lovely buildings on it, whereas most of the settings in Vikings just look gross. I mean, people took care of themselves 1,000 years ago. We have hundreds of finds of combs because people took care of themselves. And yes, canonically, Stoic the Vast hasn't brushed his beard for 30 years. If you've read the books, you'll know that. But nevertheless, it's quite obvious that some of the Hairy Hooligan tribe are taking very good care of their personal appearance. And that is very, very Norse. So, in terms of the way that people behave in How to Train Your Dragon, they show lots of love, they show lots of care, they learn lessons, they learn to value their surroundings and the people that they live with, they take care of their homes and their immediate environments, they wear colourful clothing and take care of their appearances. Cressida Cowell's book and the franchise of films it's based on actually probably does a better job of representing how early medieval people thought than most of the big budget Hollywood films and TV shows. And it's got dragons in it. In terms of the dragons, obviously, Jimmy loves his Toothless. I think Toothless is intentionally the cutest of the bunch and objectively the finest of dragons. The only thing that would improve matters is if all of the dragons were red, because Welsh, so get on that for next time. Honestly, I love it to bits. I love the whole franchise to bits. It's great fun, it's very silly, and it's got David Tennant and Gerard Butler in it, so, you know, it's an auditory smorgasbord of delicious Scottish accents. I hope you enjoyed my nitpicky look at How to Train Your Dragon. You asked for it, and I provided. Any silly stuff like this, I'm always up for doing. I know I'm a little bit echoey in the audio in this video. I do apologise. So, thank you, diolch yn fawr, unwaith eto. I'm ymuno, thank you for joining me, and tan y tro nesa, hwyl am y tro. Till the next time, bye for now.